Good morning. How you doing? Trying to be quiet. My upstairs neighbors are probably asleep. This might be ambitious this morning. It's 6:41 on Sunday, October 6th morning. And as you can tell, I've been trying to get sick. Especially my upper respiratory has been no fun, and my voice has been kind of cool. It's got the announcer voice, but you get the announcer voice, and then you start to lose the voice has been my pattern. So we'll try and get through this. So let's get started. Oh, we already have. We'll take a look at the infrared satellite, shall we? There's our big low spinning north of Lake Superior in Canada. And out ahead of that, we've got a big explosion of showers and storms, mostly on the Canadian side, moving towards, say, north of Toronto, but also moving through Michigan. So places like Bad Axe, Michigan. So you know how you do the glove. See, is that the right way? But anyway, Bad Axe is somewhere in here in the thumb. And trailing showers, probably north of Detroit. And we do see also, let me get my pointer here. We see this tropical moisture spreading across the Florida peninsula. Heavy rainfall coming down already. Stationary front draped across here like we talked about yesterday, and just rounds of heavy rain ahead of Milton, which is now a tropical storm, which will be probably a major hurricane hitting Florida by Wednesday afternoon. Kind of quiet Pacific Northwest. I mean, it's trying to be a storm here, but it's mostly in British Columbia. Let's check out our hazards around the country, and they are thus. It's still hot. Desert Southwest. Crazy. How about Texas Tech beating Arizona in Tucson last night? I woke up at 1 in the morning, and I was like, I wonder if that game's still on, and it was. I caught the very end of it. All right, California also very hot with excessive heat warnings, and as we've seen, inland heat advisories for the central valleys. So the heat here has not let go yet. It will. We might have to wait another week. You get up into northern Minnesota and parts of North Dakota, and it's the wind advisories here, even the UP of Michigan a little bit. Some fog, central coast, the mid-Atlantic, and there's your flooding concerns for Florida. And your Milton concerns look like this for Florida. So we do have Tropical Storm Milton right now. This is the 4 a.m. advisory. So I'm recording at 6:44. So this is 4 a.m. Central Time, and we're looking at sustained winds of 50 miles an hour moving east at 5 miles an hour, forming into a hurricane by this time tomorrow, actually sooner than that, overnight tonight. And then a major hurricane by Tuesday afternoon, and should be, I was reading the forecast discussion for Milton. They're expecting winds to be about 120 miles an hour right at landfall or just before. Some weakening possible just before landfall. That would be good. But a major hurricane obviously could be devastating it's making a beeline right now towards Tampa, and then on the other side of the peninsula, Orlando. So, this could be really bad. That would be just the wind energy. And then, we have the rain that's already started. And so we're expecting a lot of rain for Florida. And this is the next 5 days, starting this morning. So in the yellow, which is most of the state, 2 to 4 inches. And then the orange, which is along the coast, 6 to 8. And then some of the coasts, 8 to 12. So that's a lot of rain, a lot of flooding concerns to go with hurricane force winds. So Milton is on its way. Severe weather today, not counting Milton. These are severe thunderstorms with our low up in Canada and that trailing cold front. So we could see some severe storms for eastern Ohio into parts of Pennsylvania up into New York State. And there's even a threat of tornadoes here. It's a 2% chance, but there is a chance that as we go into the day, we're going to see wind directions and speeds vary as height as you go into the atmosphere, and that could create some spin, which could create some tornadoes. Basically, just east of Cleveland, into Erie, PA, and into New York State, a little bit of West Virginia included as well. Here's your surface for today, and there you see our severe weather in the yellow with the stripes along with the warm front there. Scattered showers for the northeast. Heavy rain for Florida. There's our front draped across the peninsula. And here comes Milton. A couple fronts moving through the plains and the north and the Midwest, and so cooling us off. Yesterday was windy and warm. I think we did hit 91 here in western Iowa. Today we're supposed to be in the upper 60s, so much better. I will take that. Here, in fact, here are your temperature anomalies for this afternoon. The only places much below average would be Florida with all the rain, and a little bit up there around Lake Superior. Everyone else near average or above average, from the Midwest all the way through Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, pretty much the whole West, teens above average, and California much above average on this map. And those highs look like 102 for Sacramento, 103 for Fresno, 111 for Yuma, 99 for Tucson, which is cooler than it was. 2 days ago they hit 106, which I think was the all-time record for October. So slightly cooler today. It's going to be hot across Texas into Arkansas and Oklahoma. Cooler, though, as you head north on the other side of those cold fronts. 80s Missouri, but 70s Iowa, 70s and 60s Minnesota, North Dakota. So much better. Then we see some 50s up there in Maine, also for parts of Wisconsin, UP of Michigan, northern Minnesota. Lows tomorrow morning, starting out the day in the 40s for a large part of the country. It's feeling a little bit more like fall, even though we don't have any dramatic cool weather. It's still, we're getting less daylight, so more nighttime hours for cooling, and temperatures are starting to reflect that. So a lot of 40s and 50s on this map. Warmer as you head into the heat in the desert southwest and along the southeast. Surface for tomorrow. Excuse me. I thought doing this might be ambitious, but we're hanging in there. We have our front moving through the northeast, so rain showers and scattered showers there. And here comes Milton and our stationary front still across Florida. Lots of heavy rain, lots of flooding continuing here. And the Pacific Northwest with a slight chance of some showers with a system moving in. Tomorrow's anomalies, it's cooling off behind that front. So the Midwest, 1 to 5 degrees below average, all the way down to Tennessee, and then up into Pennsylvania, New York State, and the Northeast. 10 degrees or so below average for Florida with all that rain. And then the rest of the country warm, like really warm, 10, 15, even 20 degrees above average. Highs tomorrow look like this. Still hot California, over 100 Central Valleys, over 100 into southern Arizona. 90s for Texas, 80s though, Oklahoma, a little cooler. And as you head into the southeast, 80s to near 90. Rain-cooled 70s for Florida, and then Tennessee, Kentucky, Illinois, Indiana, 70s here in the Midwest, 60s as you head north into Wisconsin and Michigan, and even parts of Ohio, West Virginia, and even some 50s for Pennsylvania, New York State, and up into Maine. Here's your rainfall for the next 2 days. Mostly Florida, 4 or 5 inches of rain possible. Miami, down to the southern tip of the peninsula and along the Gulf side. Fort Myers, you're looking at 4 or 5 inches of rain possibly, or, along the coast anyway. And then further inland, it's more like 2 to 3 inches of rain next 2 days. That's a lot. Up in the Northeast, it's less rain. Fewer inches of rain, 1 to 2 inches maybe. Well, more like up to an inch for parts of the Northeast, and even less than that as you head up into the Pacific Northwest. Surface for Tuesday, that front is moving all the way into the southeast. Now, this is a player for Milton because as that front, heads into the Gulf, it's keeping Milton a little further south. And the jet stream energy or the wind energy around the front is going to accelerate Milton into Florida, and so don't be too surprised if Milton doesn't hit Tampa and maybe hits a little further south around Fort Myers, but that's kind of the target. And again, very heavy rainfall for Florida, continuing day after day after day as Hurricane Milton becomes a major hurricane. Then we head up into the northeast, some snow for Maine and some snow in the northwest for Washington State. And our temperature anomalies for Tuesday, the East Coast basically near average or slightly below average, except Florida again, more below average with, again, all that rain. And then the western 2/3 of the country, 10, 15, 20, even more degrees above average. The northern plains just baking here. Temperatures in North Dakota in the 80s. And so, for this time of year, that's that's hot. Should be in the 60s. Same for South Dakota. It'll be some 80s for Nebraska and Iowa, and into Kansas, 90s for Oklahoma, and into Texas. So the plains on the warm side, cooling off as you get into the Midwest and further east. Still hot Southwest, 103 Phoenix. We're looking at a little cooler for Redding, 96, I think. And the Willamette Valley in the 70s. So that's kind of pleasant for them for this time of year. All right, let's take a look at the GFS. I've barely gone through this ahead of time. I just wanted to jump in here. Let's start with today. And here's our low in Canada. Moving quickly off to the east, the trailing front, our severe weather possible here. Here's the tropical moisture for Florida. I mean, this already gets us into this afternoon and just heavy rain for Florida, and Milton is barely on the screen here. And as we head further into today and tonight, heavy rain continues for Florida, and a little bit of low forming there, but just, periods of rain as we go through Monday and into Tuesday. Our low for the northeast gets out of here. But you see the 540 line? Again, that demarcation between rain and snow, generally, but certainly an indication of some colder air. So that's invading New York State, New Hampshire, Vermont, into Maine. And then here comes Milton. This gets us to Tuesday morning. And as we go through the day, Tuesday, Milton accelerating. And heavy rain out ahead of it for Florida, of course. And should be around Wednesday. This is Wednesday at 7 a.m. This is Wednesday about 10 a.m. And this is Wednesday early afternoon. Striking the Florida peninsula. Winds could be 120 miles an hour if the forecast comes true. Heavy rainfall with that wind. Milton's a small storm, but packs a punch. So as Milton does its thing with Florida, then we have showers moving into the Pacific Northwest, western Washington especially here. And Milton moving across the Florida peninsula. Still a hurricane by the time it gets to the other side. Should be moving quickly enough to maintain its hurricane strength as it heads out into the Atlantic. And then the country gets very quiet. This is Thursday morning. It jumped on me again. Let me see. Oh, there we go. I'm pretty close to where I was. All right. So Thursday and then into Friday, pretty quiet. Then we have a storm, a storm moving into Oregon, California, Washington. That is the 12th. Now remember, yesterday we had some cold air and a system dropping into the Rockies, and then forming a low in the Midwest with some snow. So I mean, we were talking the 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, all in there. So we're at the 12th here. Let's see if that is still there. So we do see this piece of energy dropping into Wyoming. This is Sunday the 13th. So through the day Sunday, it's pretty weak, but it's here into Colorado. Not as cold as it was, I don't think. Although we do see some cooler air moving in the Great Lakes with the system here. This is northern New Mexico, and that's me not watching what I'm doing. All right, we're on the 14th now. And that piece of energy drops right through New Mexico. And the colder air, though, is up here in the northeast. And then as we get into the 15th and the 16th, this looks like to be more of a cold front here. We'll see where that goes. Okay, so that drops down. Strong cold front. This is Wednesday the 16th going into the 17th. So definitely a change in the pattern. The GFS can't agree with itself on exactly how that's going to play out, but we are, 11 days out. But it looks like some big changes coming, which is going to be great. So, we're talking much cooler into the plains. Here we go, the 540 line through the Dakotas. Rain, which is probably more realistic. But keep in mind, too, as this cold air falls down the eastern side of the Rockies, it's going to suppress this high that's been over the southwest. You're going to get some relief from the heat as well. And then we'll see what this does. So instead of forming a low here with snow, we do have the 540 line through western Iowa into Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska, and the Dakotas and Minnesota. But more rain. Is this another hurricane for Florida? Oh my gosh. When we get into the 18th, we'll have to keep an eye on that. And then as I'm kind of moving a little faster. So there was a little bit of snow here real quick into Missouri now this time. And that hurricane joins forces with this big low and causes just a huge mess in the center part of the eastern part of the country. Wow, this really bears watching. So we'll see. There looks like some dramatic changes coming in our weather as we get into the third week of October. So we're going to get rid of boring for sure, but how it's going to play out exactly, too early to tell. Wow. All right, we'll keep an eye on that. All right, for Saturday, it's going to be hot. It's going to be so hot in the Midwest and central and southern plains and the whole plains. Just hot. A little bit cooler northwest. Still cooler Florida, southeast. Those highs on Saturday still in the 90s. Kansas into Missouri. Oh, make it stop. It's going to stop, but it's going to take a little while. Cooling off a little bit in the southwest here on Saturday, but still, warm. But those hundreds are gone for Central California. And on Sunday, really hot for the Midwest, for southern Iowa into northern Missouri especially. Those temperatures well into the 90s. And again, we're going to wait till the middle part of the week or the month, or really the third week of the month, to make some big changes on the plains. And I'm confident that's going to happen. How it looks exactly, I'm not confident about. But that's why we do this every day, so we can keep you updated. All right, 6 to 10 day temperatures look like this. Western 2/3 of the country, a good chance of above average temperatures. The cool spot, Florida, southeast, of course. And then our precipitation, that's where we have above average precipitation, would be Florida. The rest of the country, dry, or really good chances of being dry, from Texas through Louisiana, Arkansas. You get the idea, all the way up to Iowa. So it's going to be a dry time of it for a while until it's not. So I'm thinking big changes in here by the third week of October. But until then, we'll watch Milton. That's the biggest thing. Should be hitting Florida Wednesday afternoon as a major hurricane. And we will keep you posted. All right, I'm going to get ready for church and head that way. You guys have a great Sunday. And we'll catch you back here tomorrow right here on the Weather Mic.